All right, let's get to the top 10. What do we got this week?
All right. Well, as you know, before I get ready and start running the clock, it's the top 10 in 10 minutes. These are not necessarily all the 10 hottest books. There's just 10 interesting comic sales or comic books for the past week that I felt like talking about. So with that, let's get our ticker going and start off with our big ticket item. Where the hell is our 10-minute clicker? There it is. 10 minutes. We're rolling right now. Top 10 and 10. Our first book, even though I had it as our big ticket item last week as a 0.5, there was an 8.5 that sold this week for a significantly higher number than the 10 grand, a 0.5. This was $228,000. So I just couldn't ignore this type of sale. Granted, it's not an all-time high, even for this grade. And in fact, it's actually a little down when you look at it. From June, there was one for $350 over at Comic Connect to hit 228. That's interesting. That's why I put it in here.
I heard that there was someone
that guy who paid $350 back in June is like, God damn it, they got one for $228.
You think that's signs of a slowing economy, that people just aren't? They still got the money to spend, but they're not spending like they would have.
I think you're seeing it just. I think that you're just seeing a correction overall in. What
this is a stratosphere I don't understand or complain.
So this is also
a comic.
So this is also, I think, some of these comics at this price of it, like you wouldn't see this book in an 8.5, like put up this much, right? Like you're just not seeing this book at that grade.
I mean, look at this. That's three of them though. This is three in the last 2 months.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you're not seeing, like back in the day, you might see this book in an 8.5. You'd see it once a year, and you got it up 3 times, 3 different books through 8.5 going up in a 2-month span. Like, yeah, no, there's more of it out there too. So people are saying like, okay, cool. And when you get more supply, obviously the price is going to go down and demand's going to go down a little bit. I think it's a little bit like, I don't think like if you're putting out $240,000, nothing's really affecting your pocketbook that much.
Yeah, this is a lot of money, however we look at it. But moving to our next
high grades are there, Pete? Do you know?
You just opened a can of worms now.
Yeah, I don't know.
JP really wants to talk about this,
so we're not going to talk about it. I mean, it's enough.
Talk about that.
Nothing about it. Like if people don't know how stuff works, then I mean, whatever.
Well, we got Ultimate Fallout. We got to, like I said, we got 10 minutes. We got to roll. Ultimate Fallout 4 in a 9.8. While it's not a big ticket item, it's still, from what I can gather, an all-time high for a $3,800 sale at Heritage, which is confusing to me because that happened on August 5th, but then you see a bunch of eBay sales for only $2,500 and $2,400, $2,800. It's like, yes, it was an all-time high, but why did that buyer pay that much more than everybody else since then? Look, there's literally 5 more sales since that sale that have been for almost $1,000 less.
Yeah.
So it just makes you think. Don't just get caught up in all-time high sale prices.
Right.
Well, when it was at Heritage, right? So it's there. Don't you? So it's not like premium eBay. Yeah.
Well, it's that's the auction number plus the premium on top.
Yeah, and I think that's not even including the premium. Like the premium thing goes after the fact. But we'll move on to some regular books that we can all talk about and consider. Amazing Fantasy 1. Talked about Anya Corazon because her book started moving a little bit again because she is in Edge of Spider-Verse 1. Everybody wants any spider character they could find because apparently there's going to be 200 plus spider characters in the next animated movie. So that means we need all of their first appearances. So there's a little price bump again for $40 to $50. Her Amazing Fantasy 1 is going for, where end of July, there were copies that were sold. There's still copies that sold for $40, but there were copies to be had for $17 and $20.
Is she a short character?
Is that why Pete likes her so much?
What's that?
Is she short?
I'm sure she's short.
She just got a little leg.
Yeah.
Well, she's very, very short. Not that short.
Yeah, that's non-proportional.
Not Superior really Spider-Man's girlfriend short.
Yeah.
But the other bit, again, since we had it in the news, the Hood. So the Hood is coming.
I love this.
Does that mean we start selling books? Obviously it does. So it gets bumped up once
again.
No,
it's because of Brian K. Vaughan. This is a great series by K. Vaughan.
It is, but this was dwindling. Look, it's $50 and $90 again raw. but it wasn't that long ago. Look, August 2nd, $27. Back in July, it was $15. Like there were cheap sales, and again, there's some higher sales mixed in too, obviously, but there were cheaper options that may not be there right now because everybody's excited.
Hold.
I mean, do you think Red Hood's going to stick around more than just with Ironheart?
Probably. Not for a long term. Well,
I was about to say, yeah, like the payoff might be later for that.
I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like it might be like Baron Zemo, right? Like,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
I think you're gonna get a couple bites of this apple, just so you know.
Yes. Don't immediately sell, but don't go buying in.
I would sell right now, but it's gonna take a dip, and you might be able to get it back.
Let it cool now.
You have enough time to come back around, probably.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit of these indie books that are now selling because of Netflix announcements. So, Mind Management.
Yay.
$40, $60 sales on this number one for Mind Management, where once again, back in July, this was $5, $3, $15.
You know, this reminds me of, you remember that movie, that show Herman's Head?
I do. I actually liked Herman's Head. But this is going to be bookended. Well, not bookended, but I guess packaged up with, again, the other one I mentioned, Bang. That was also going to Netflix, Idris Elba. This is a movie. That one's a series. This is also seeing a little bit of a bump. $20, $30, $50 for a pair of number one.
I'll be honest, I'll have to read them, Marv. Maybe I'll tell you next week because I didn't read any of this.
Look,
shit.
August 4th, copies were selling for cover, basically. So before the announcement, it was cover. And then it starts selling for $20, $30. The reason why I bring this up.
Has anybody read either one of these books?
Be careful. No. But be careful with this indie spec and don't go buying in and all this stuff, because even good indie books like this that get adapted, and we talked about last week because price was bumped up because the show premiered. Well, let's look at it this week. This week, raw copies are $12 to $13. 9/8 are now under $100, whereas just a week or so ago, there were raw copies selling for $25, $48.
I mean, the print
$160 sales on 9/8.
Yeah.
How quickly indie spec goes away. How quickly it passes. So just be careful.
Be careful.
This is also why I don't like spec. I mean, I like showing numbers, but I don't like spec because this is what you're going to run into. So be careful. If you're not buying it because you want it for yourself and you're buying it for investment purposes, well, this is what you got to deal with.
Always goes back to just buy what you like.
Buy what you like. That's why, like,
if you're stuck with it, you're not disappointed.
If you want to talk about it, we've talked about it 1,000 times in this show. Like, we don't like. Oh, really? Exclusives. Buy what you like.
This is not exclusive. This is a C cover.
I know.
Yeah, this is a C cover for last week's Harley Quinn, number 18. There's a bunch of homages coming out, and just a lot of copies of this one have sold. Granted, some of the prices have hit $10 to $12, but there's still a ton of cover price sales. But there have been over 100 cover price sales even on eBay. So this is not even counting what's at your shop. It's just something to keep an eye on, which is why I put it in here. That
BK, yes.
People like covers. Like some certain covers hit and resonate with people, and they seem to like this homage so far. And going to one to watch this week, again, even though there's another homage cover, this is an incentive. This is a 1 in 25 incentive. And the reason why I want to watch this one is because the cover artist is this Jimbo Box. It's their first cover, from what I can gather. And they got 134,000 followers on Instagram. So anytime like a new artist comes onto the scene, I'd like to just watch it. I'm curious. I want to see what happens. So with this many followers, there are people interested in the artist. Let's see how their first comic cover goes. Right now, I mean, there's plenty of under ratio sales right now. Like they're out there. But the pre-sales were hitting like 25, 35. This is a 1 in 25 book, by the way. $42. They were hitting some highs. Let's just see where it goes from here.
They got interiors or anything?
It's just the cover. Again, they do like this anime kind of art. And that's what they do. They got 134,000 followers.
I mean, did they do anime covers? How do they have 134,000 followers?
They do a lot of anime pictures. I like the art. It's kind of cool, but we'll see. I'm just like I said, I put this in because I'm curious. Just like I'm curious as to what's going to happen with
Gathering Artist. Like he sounded familiar. I was wondering why.
Yeah. 8 Billion Genies number 4. By now, shops should know how to order for this 8 million Genies, which is why I'm confused when I see some sales hitting $20. Why are you paying $20? Like in plenty of cover price sales. So just be careful thinking that every 8 billion Genies book is going to be hard to find and worth money, because by now shops have probably ordered properly.
Yeah, my shop had like hundreds of them, and like there were 3 different covers.
Just because your shop might be sold out when you go on Thursday or Friday, maybe it's not because it's hot. It's because one dude showed up and bought all of them because he thinks he's going to make a mint off of all of these books.
And I think a lot of those sales too are people who live not near a comic shop, and they get
held hostage.
So yeah.
No, this is actually, you guys are all wrong. This is actually proof that the great state of Michigan is the best state of all. This book is all about the great state of Michigan.
All right. Well, we're over time now for 10 minutes, but we'll end with your comment there.
Yeah. Smart investment. Just like
I do have something to bring up to you guys for overtime since we're here. I thought this was kind of interesting. I just want to get your guys' take on this.
Okay.
This book right here. Invincible Iron Man 7. First Riri Williams. This is the first printing of this book.
Cover.
Awful cover. I hate this cover. Here is the third printing of this book, which gets you a nice little picture of Riri. It doesn't look like Riri. I don't know who that looks like, but
Riri's mom.
Looks like Riri's mom.
There you go. Exactly.
But
Rihanna.
Looks like Corbin's mom.
Oh my gosh.
There she is on the cover.
Corbin's mom's pretty hot, if you guys don't know.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
My question to you is, why are these books selling for the same amount of money? Raw. Why are these both $60 books? I get it. I talk about plenty of later print books. Hard to find later printings. This particular later printing, I think there's 6,000 of the third printing. So it actually hit Comic-Con and it made the number. So there's over 6,000 copies of this third printing, which I'm not saying that's a ton, but it's still a third print. Is that little picture on the cover really making you that excited that you're going to pay the same amount as you would pay for a first print? I leave it to you guys to talk for a second.
Nah, I've already heard enough bullshit this week. I'm done. Next.
Well, what do you think? Like,
do you want? I mean, like, this is like the whole thing of the whole. What's going on the whole week? It's a sucker thing. Like, if you want to be a sucker, go ahead.
But my question is the third print being overvalued, or is the first print being undervalued? Is more my question.
No, I mean, because the problem is the mudding of.
Well, what's the print run on them? Like,
I think the first print was more like in the 50s. I want to say it was like 50K. Like, there was a decent number. It had the Mary Jane cover.
Yeah, because it wasn't there 1 in 50 in that too or something. There was definitely
no. There was no incentive for number 7.
Was it 9 that had multiple covers?
Yeah, number 9 had the Tron cover that everybody wants to go along with it. This one had the Mary Jane Women of Power, which is another bad cover. That was the
right
for here, but not an incentive.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, double cover. So that means it definitely was.
Yeah.
And it was still during that Civil War II period where they were printing a bunch of bullshit.
They were printing a bunch. That's why I said there was still a decent number of the first print.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is part of the problem. I mean, this is part of the problem with what's going on and why people don't know what they're talking about, and they get on the internet and they're like, "Oh, second print, very rare, very important. And it's a picture of her mom on it. Like, this is going to be worth millions." And it ups the price of this, takes down the value of the book that should be called, which 7 should be it. They make the muddy of the water with 9, and there you go. People that, people that sit in rooms and look across the street to tell you how a Comic-Con's going. So what you gonna do?
So on that, we'll see you guys next week.
We're not allowed to talk about certain things, so we're gonna talk about them. All right.